Back from Gen Con. I know it's been a couple weeks now, but I finally got some rest and I'm finally ready to go into what is in this Guns for Hire box. Now I picked this up as a preview, I guess a pre-release or early release from Gen Con. I didn't have to do a lot of waiting in line. Actually, Jim did all that work. So of course, like normal, I was being lazy and making use of my human resources. So what I'm going to do is take the plastic wrap off of this, dig into this thing. You probably already know what's in this, but it's always fun to go look and see exactly what comes in the box, because sometimes you never know. Sometimes you get that surprise of a card like we did with the Sea Rock. So we'll dig into this. It won't be a super long video because there's not a lot of details to go over on these cards since we've done it already on the podcast. But this will just give you a chance to see what's actually in the box when you pull this thing apart, what you can throw away, what you can keep, and hopefully these figures look as cool as I think they do, because unfortunately I didn't get to choose these. I was just handed them over the counter, which bugs me because I'm picky about my ships. I like to actually find the ones that have the best paint job out of the box, since I have no plan on painting them myself. But we'll get to that as we dig through it. I will make a cut and then we'll see these things up close. Okay, I have the plastic pulled off the box. Now we just dig in like we normally do. And as you would expect, here on the right hand side there's going to be some cardboard that has all of our tokens and bits in it. These are always a bit of a death trap, because if you're like me, you open it, woohoo, this is going to be awesome. You open it and these things dump out all over the table. So that's one of the few little pet peeves I have about their boxes. That, and although I'm not the massive environmentalist some people are, 2 ships, this much stuff, and yet a giant box that's that deep and all of this wasted material. I mean, come on, FFG. I realize you want these things to all be kind of the same size, and at some point you dedicated yourself to this size of box for the things like the Millennium Falcon and the like. But come on, you could probably shrink this up a little bit and save us all the trouble of all of this excess plastic. I mean, crying out loud, look at this. That's only, what, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch deep when you get all these ships in there. Call it an inch. This is about a 3 inch, 2.5 inch deep piece of plastic. It's got a cap on it that serves zero purpose, because you can see the ships aren't going anywhere. It's got a whole another shell on the inside, as I'm sure you're used to. Hey, look, the ship just fell out. So what this is for, I have no clue. Obviously this one's to keep the other one in check, but it's a lot of wasted plastic that's just going to get thrown away. Same thing with this cardboard. It's just going to get thrown away. It has no real use for me. So I've made this complaint on some of my videos and on my other channel, but as it is, we deal with it, we live with it. It's just, to me, it's a little bit wasteful and stupid. So, here are all the cards, as you'd expect. Another Ziploc bag. Hopefully your house will never get raided by the cops, because with all the Ziploc bags that we have, they're probably going to think we're up to something no good. All these different sized bags, I'm sure they're thinking we're running a drug empire. But, the ships. This is probably what you're really interested in. This is one of the two. This is, look how bad I am with names. That's how bad I am with names. This is our Star Viper. And I like the paint job on this. It's a little bit dark for my taste. I do like brighter colors. At some point I got out of the phase where dark reds and dark, grays and blacks and things were my favorite colors. I like these, things to be a little bit brighter and cleaner. And but this is still very good. It's a very good combination of colors, and I like it. I can see some people that add more color to them or might change some of this stuff, but I think the biggest complaint that I've had about these ships is what we've seen happen to gems, which is that these little prongs here will break off. They're incredibly flimsy. They don't move of their own accord, but they're incredibly flimsy. And you actually need 2 flight sticks to be able to stand one of these up, at least without it being too close and putting some pressure on these bottom prongs. But nonetheless, very cool ship. It's one we've seen before, obviously in a different color scheme. That's one of the great things about these Aces packs. Call it whatever you want to. This is a Scum Aces pack. It's called Guns for Hire, but this is Scum Aces, and we all know that. So, the Kirax, the K-Rax, the Cracks, however you want to call this thing. This was the ship I was the most interested in out of this pack. I always loved the design of this ship. I've always loved the look of this ship from when it first released or when it first debuted online. But now they've added a very nice Black Sun paint job to it, so it's that white with the Black Sun logo on it. I think this looks really crisp, really clean. If anything, I wish that the white was a bit brighter, a bit wider. Maybe there was a little bit more on here, but nonetheless, it is very cool. It's actually got a slightly different color here for these, whether those are supposed to be torpedo tubes or they're supposed to be something else, I don't know. But nonetheless, I like the look of it. I can't wait to put this on the table and see how it performs. And now I can actually put 2 because I only ever bought 1 of the first one. So now I can have 2 in my list and really get down to enjoying it. So of course, your standard templates. Nothing exceptional here that you would not expect. Proof of purchase, which I still have not had anybody explain to me what the hell those things are for, but they're there on every single pack. I've still saved them because I'm a bit of a pack rat when it comes to gaming components, but like everything that I've dealt with in FFG, whether it's this, whether it's Mansions of Madness, these things are just incredibly well cut. They don't tear, they fall right out of the sprues, if you want to call these things sprues. They have no issues whatsoever, and I love that. I have run into games where pulling the tokens out of the game was a complete pain in the butt, and this FFG stuff has never been that way. I mean, these were actually falling out. Heck, this number was loose when I opened the pack. That means just being in the pack was enough to loosen it up. And of course, we got the 2 for the FFG maneuver template replacements. We got the 2 little symbols there. Obviously, all the standard stuff, tokens, shield tokens, all that good stuff is just going to go into a pile. Lots and lots of ion tokens there, so we know there's some ion related things in the pack. And of course, we've got our status, or our what are they, condition buttons. I obviously am not a huge fan of the condition stuff, but FFG seems to be going that way, so I guess we're just going to have to get used to these things being what they are. But nonetheless, I like them as they are. There's some neat little graphics on them, and they obviously key to the cards that come in the pack. Bases, maneuver template pieces, yeah, those are all, you know, kind of tried and true. We know how all those all work. So now the fun stuff. I've already seen something interesting on the back. Maybe I've just never noticed it because I'm that oblivious. But we'll start. Harpoon missile. We've gone over all these in the on the podcast, but I'll read this one to you just so you know it. Attack the target, or attack, it requires a target lock. Discard this card to perform this attack. If this attack hits, after the attack resolves, assign the harpoon condition to the defender. It's a 4-die, range 2 to 3 missile that we have. It costs 4 points. It sounds like it's going to be real powerful, especially when you add on the condition that is here at the end, harpoon. They've actually given you a couple of these guys. Harpooned is when you are hit by an attack, if there's at least 1 uncancelled crit, each other ship at range 1 suffers 1 damage, then discard this card and receive 1 face down damage card. So not only does the harpoon do its damage, as far as I can tell, yep, once the harpoon does its damage, it's always going to get an additional one from this harpoon going off. So that's a really cool card. It's a really neat condition if you're into the condition stuff. So we'll see that one. I'm sure a lot of the tables, I've already heard people that are building some pretty crazy lists that involve those. So we'll dump those harpoon missiles out of it. Here's the ion dischargers. Again, we mentioned this on the show. These are 2 points, scum upgrade or an illicit upgrade. After you receive an ion token, you may choose an enemy ship at range 1. If you do remove that ion token, then that ship may choose to receive the ion token. If it does, discard this card. Otherwise, you keep this card and can keep discharging the ions. It might be that that ship doesn't want to do that for one reason or another. Who knows? But that explains all these little ion tokens, because there's a couple of those in the pack. Pulse Ray Shield, I believe this one was in another pack originally. So we've seen this one before. It's basically you need a shield of value of 1. If you have it, then during the end phase you may receive an ion token to recover 1 shield up to your maximum value, which is obviously 1 shield. Stealth Device, Old Hat, Vector Thrusters, Old Hat, Star Viper Mark II. These are the new titles that came in this pack. Star Viper Mark II is, let me give you one of them so you can see, is may equip up to 2 different title upgrades. You can put this one plus the title that came in the original Star Viper pack. When performing a barrel roll, you must use the 1 banks templates instead of the 1 straight templates. And it's a -3 upgrade cost. So that's an interesting card. We discussed it on the podcast, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail. But I'm sure it'll see some use on the Star Vipers, because quite frankly, there's almost no reason not to unless you just don't have the mind for that new type of barrel roll. And of course, the Vox Psi. This is a Carax fighter title. It is not unique in any way, so you can actually, that's why they give you a couple of them. The squad point cost of each of your equip upgrades is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0. That means all those 1-point upgrades become 0-point upgrades. That 1 point is a huge savings. You may equip up to 3 different modifications. I've already got a list that can make massive use of this, especially when you throw in one of the pilots that's here, and we'll go over those in just a second. So I can't wait to get that on the table. I think we're going to play some this week. I think we're actually going to start on the Sea Rocks campaign, or the missions that came in the Sea Rock pack. So I might actually try and throw that list, or at least a piece of that list, on the table and see how it goes. Then last but not least of these micro cards and mini cards is the Shadowed and Mimicked conditions. These are two conditions that go along with the pilot. There's the artwork on the back I thought was very interesting. I've obviously just never noticed that before from the other ones, but it matches the little token that comes with it, so you know what's going on. So set those aside. Obviously you see the pile of stuff, not a big deal. Now the pilots. First we'll go over the Kirax pilots. Victor Help, one of our fancy 1980s action movie names. Pilot skill 7, after defending, if you did not roll exactly 2 defense dice, the attacker receives 1 stress. We discussed these on the podcast. I'm not going to bore you to tears with all the details. This is our pilot skill 4 guy. His name is Captain Jostero. His is once per round, after an enemy ship that is not defending against an attack suffers damage or critical damage, you may perform an attack against that ship. It's an interesting ship. It could be comboed possibly with that harpoon missile, which could be very interesting and very deadly if you can get it to work more than once in a game. But you never know. It could only be a one-shot thing, but that one shot might be all you need, because remember, they are 3-die attack ships. So very cool there. The next one is our pilot skill 5, Black Sun Ace. He's just your generic Black Sun pilot. Very cool. I like that. Obviously, I like all these guys. And then last but not least, our Cartel Marauder, which I believe is a duplicate from one of the other sets. And that Kirax Fighter, a Black Sun Ace, might also be, but I definitely recall seeing this guy before. So nothing new there. And then of course our Star Viper guys. We have Dalen Oberos. He's our first guy from our Star Viper pack. If you're not stressed when you reveal a turn, bank, or Segnor's Loop maneuver, you may instead treat it as a red Talon roll maneuver of the same direction, left or right, using the template of the original revealed maneuver. We discussed this on the podcast, so hopefully you guys, if you want some crazy detail, or you want us in our inane discussion of these things, and of course me not understanding the rules or that sort of thing, you can listen to the podcast to pick up those details. Next one is Thweek, and he is the one that uses that condition card during setup before the place forces step. You may choose one enemy ship and assign the Shadowed or Mimicked condition cards to it. We discussed this again on the podcast, but I'll describe it again. Shadowed. Thweek is treated as having the pilot skill value you had after setup. The pilot skill value of Thweek does not change. So basically you set this, and of course the little token, onto an enemy ship, and you take his pilot skill. You both have the same pilot skill at that point. The last one is Mimicked. And Mimicked is Thweek is treated as having your pilot ability. So one gives you the opportunity to take a pilot skill. One of them gives you the chance to take a pilot ability. Again, we discussed this in a lot of detail on the podcast, but those are very interesting cards, and I actually think they're going to get a lot of use. They might actually bring some of these Star Vipers back to the table, especially when you throw on that new title. So the last two in here is a Black Sun Assassin at a pilot skill 5, and actually it's just a pair of Black Sun Assassins here at pilot skill 5. So that's very cool. Obviously, went through this really, really fast just to give you an idea of what all was in the box, but I think we've all seen the details. We've gone over this on the podcast, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to see this stuff kind of up close, or at least as up close as you can before you purchase it, because I know this is going to be out in stores in a few weeks. At least I would expect it to be out in stores in a few weeks. But it definitely wasn't there this week when we went. So this might be your first chance to see it before they get it open. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, definitely drop a comment down below, like and subscribe so you can hear from all of my inane comments, and definitely check out the podcast whenever you can. We have a Patreon page now. We're going to slowly get that thing filled up with some cool details, with some cool giveaways and some cool kind of different tiers to let people kind of give what they want, of course, because we definitely need it to upgrade the crappiness of our microphones and that sort of thing. But also we want to give back to you guys because we have so much fun listening to what you guys say. Obviously the Facebook page has lots of great content, lots of great people that come on there, and obviously meeting everybody in person at GenCon was great. So definitely, again, like and subscribe. Check out the podcast if you get a chance to, and until next time, thanks. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to help us continue improving and expanding our channel's content.